Okie dokie, off we go. Drive like a driving instructor video today. It's something that you've often heard me talk about. Driving in a staggered formation. People say, oh yeah, approaching roundabouts, and even if you're in a merge and turn situation, you're always doing your best to try and find that little pocket of space, but there's a little bit more to it than that. So this is what we're going to have a little look at today. We're going to be looking at how I operate my car to constantly be trying to fit into space and be in a staggered formation. We will have a little go. I've got a couple of other things I'm also going to talk about. We're going to have a little talk about later on, if I remember. Active or adaptive cruise control and how that doesn't help with these scenarios, but I'll probably forget because I've got 3 million things going around in my mind. But anyway, as normal, as with all of this series, it's one take, it's not scripted, it's just say what I see. I've got this subject in my mind about driving in a staggered formation and how it should be dealt with all the time. Let's go with it. It's quite similar to the space video. Cheers, buddy. It's quite similar to the space video, but it's really, rather than this scenario where I'm holding back and just letting the white one come into this space, I'm just going to slightly use this space on the left so we can both arrive here at the same time and then keep flowing. I'm just going to show you how I operate the car driving on the road, and it's usually in relation to people around me. There's a little bit of a difference. So what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to head this way. We'll go and have a look at my favourite. This is, I've got two really junctions and situations which are my Gandalf corner. It's the one down the other end where people tend to cut the corner down at the end of Sandy Lane, and this is the other one here at this set of lights where many scenarios, even recently I did a merge and turn learning point where it went well. So here's a little different with the traffic that's around me. I'm altering my speed to be next to this pocket. I don't think there it was the right thing to do to go all the way up, and that's because these vehicles were moving. So people often take things that they hear or even things that I say as black and white, and it's not the case. It's always grey, it's always somewhere in the middle. So I am turning right a little bit further up. There's no point me going back to the left. It's at the second set of lights that we're turning, but I'm all the time constantly being aware of where my pockets of space are. I'm going to head down by the hospital because there's a couple of little situations where I'm going to be next to people. So are we going to get through this? No. Okay, that's all fine. So yeah, we all know, well, most of my viewership know that I'm always trying to be in a scenario where I'm here with a car in front and with a car behind. So there's always a pocket of space next to me. I'll tell you what I'll do while we've got this little bit of a lull. I'll talk about adaptive or active cruise control. All it does is not concentrates, but it tags onto the vehicle in front and keeps you that set distance away from that vehicle in front. But for me, I haven't got it on this car. I did have it on the Golf, but I never used it. And for me, it's not very good. I had it on the Tesla as well, obviously, with the autopilot system, same thing. Just Tesla have called it a different name. But what actually happens with it, it tags on and maintains distance with the vehicle in the front, but it's got nothing peripherally that it helps out with. So it often puts you in danger and at risk with people at the side. And this is what we should be trying to reduce. And it doesn't matter whether you're driving a car, it doesn't matter whether you're on a motorbike, it doesn't matter whether you're on a push bike, it doesn't matter whether you're in a bus or a lorry as well, but it's much more difficult with those vehicles to have space than it would be with something else, because obviously because of the size of them. So that's why I think, although the highway code and the responsibility is with the bigger vehicles, I think it's sort of the other way around. I think people who can be a little bit more manoeuvrable should accommodate the bigger vehicles. I know they say that about going up hills and bits and bobs, but just don't sit next to lorries, buses, bigger vehicles, blind spots. So I hope you understand the point about active cruise control. I'll be interested in your opinion in that as well, and that's the main reason why I don't use it. My missus, we've just ordered another car. It's never going to go on a channel. However, there was an option for active cruise control or adaptive cruise control. No, don't want it. And I told the dealer this exact same thing, that it just puts you next to problems. So, first scenario, and I will say I have got my roof box on today, because I can honestly think that this quite often encourages people just to barge through. We've got this scenario here. Will I be able to make it up the road any? No. I don't think that scenario, using that extra road space for that short length of time, is any benefit. But even now, I'm ensuring with my mirror work and with my awareness around that I'm not going to have any issues. If there are vehicles to that side, don't battle it, but be positive to a certain extent, but always ready to submit. But try and position yourself next to a pocket of space as much as you possibly can. And that's crucial. Okay, so yeah, I'll be really interested in your opinion on adaptive cruise. So, first scenario that we've got to really deal with, where I'm thinking about sitting in the pocket, is at the next set of lights. We're going to turn right onto the East Lancs Road, a little bit further up. There's two lanes that turn right. And when we go, I'm obviously going to do my utmost to be in a pocket of space. Looking up there as well, it looks as though there's a nice big lorry. Brilliant. So we're also going to be looking at other people around me and what they're doing, because this is a big part of this. And we're going to concentrate in this scenario on this van with PLB sat in the back, or on the back. The pocket of space, going back to what I said about bigger vehicles, there's no way I would be not next to space going around this corner with this lorry. I would either be past the lorry if there's enough room and space, or back behind it. I would not be next to it. The more time you're next to people, the higher risk you're putting yourself in and keeping yourself in. And I've got no idea why people do that. All ranges of road users as well, right from the more vulnerable cyclists all the way through. Let's have a little look and see what happens. So here, notice I'm adjusting my acceleration. I'd be too close to the lorry if I was in front of the taxi, so I just held my acceleration back, so I've got a nice space this side. And in the end, everyone actually worked out quite nicely. I'm not sure about the van with PLB on the back. I think they went into the left lane. But in any case, that's a first nice little example. Now, I'm not gonna make progress because we are turning left shortly, but it's as you're moving away, and as I've said right at the beginning, it's not necessarily people coming towards us that we're trying to be in a pocket of space. It's generally people next to us. And this can happen as well, not as we're just accelerating, but as we're slowing. This Renault that's just gone past, I know it's out in lane 3 now, but if it was slowing here, I would slow again, being next to a pocket of space for as long as I can, because then if the Renault or any vehicle decides to just jump in, it's no issues. I'm thinking about the van here as I do this left turn. It's travelling past quite quick, so it's not going to be long before that pocket's available again. But it was something that was on my mind and I was conscious of. Here, new road, mirrors. Is there any pocket of space around? Yes, there's loads. So we can move away. That's fine. And just while there's nothing going on, quick talk about dual carriageways. People always ask me, oh, what position on a dual carriageway? It depends. Here, there's no one behind, so there's no benefit to me being in the half and half position. I personally don't think that this dual carriageway is quite wide enough for that half and half position to be any benefit anyway, so I'd be out here regardless, even if there were vehicles behind. So simply put, if the dual carriageway is wide enough and you can be in half and half and it's going to be a benefit, stay in half and half to make 3 lanes out of 2. If not, drive in lane 2. That simple. Road's closed up ahead, so I'm going to have to turn left. No problems, no one around. Nothing about being in a little pocket of space. Apart from maybe in meeting situations, you're looking for the little pockets either side to negotiate the vehicles coming the other way. So I'd rather be past the learner and in this area here with a bigger pocket either side of both of us, rather than honestly just being next to parked cars. Hiya, Tommy. So I'm going to do a right turn, and again we're going to be looking at little pockets of space. Not much is going to happen here, but even with the right turn, if I was coming past vehicles turning right, I'd also be super careful of people swinging out to do their turn. Again, I'd be thinking of the space. No problems. No one's followed me. It's actually pretty easy at the minute, nothing going on. Slowing to deal with this in front, no problems. And again, if you think of my position that I'm taking up, I'm in lane 2, but what's my positioning telling others around? Well, it's saying that I would like to be in here. And again, I'm just concentrating on the little spaces around and where people are. Do you need to signal to move back? No, it's a given. My positioning was perfectly fine to show people what I was doing. People do rely on signals too much. Not going there today. So pocket of space. There's not a big queue to my right, so I can please myself. There's another vehicle that's just decided to use lane 2, and I don't want to be next to it. So where's the yellow one going? Yellow one's coming round. And now I'm just being aware of this one. It has got a right signal on, and I'm pretty happy that it's turning, but notice it just created a little bit of space. No one next to me. It's quite easy. So the key is I'm altering my acceleration all the time to be constantly next to a space, even since I started this video, even now. How many times have I been in a situation where there's been people next to me? And the answer is not much. I know it's been pretty quiet, but hopefully you'll get where I'm coming from. I think what I'll do, the next set of lights is a right turn. For me here, I don't think I would go up to the cones in this scenario, because I think that is a piece of body language is a push in, but it wouldn't bother me if anyone else does go this side at this point. We're stopped at the end of the day, so it's not a problem. Okay. Sound. I think what I'll do, rather than doing this right turn, I'm going to go ahead, because it allows me to, again, just do a little bit more with this position on either side. So is this something that you spend much attention to? because I find that a lot of people on the road, percentage, what would I say? I would probably say 80% of people who are on the road just think about speed limit. They just think about what they're doing. They're not breaking the speed limit, so therefore they must be okay. Again, back to my old thing that grinds my gears, is people think because I'm legal, I'm okay. Absolute load of rubbish. It's a terrible, terrible mindset. So yeah, there are people who just stay within the speed limit and don't adjust what they do with their own car. And I'm going to try and give examples of this a little bit further up where I don't adjust. I just move off in one particular manner, and I'm going to see what people do either side. It might put me into an increased risk momentarily, but I'm not going to stay in there too long. Hopefully I can demonstrate a couple of these situations, because you've got to look out for people who don't do this, and it's down to you being a good driver to accommodate the other rubbish that's out there. Like I said, if there's 20% of us who are doing the proper things, keeping everything else safe, so be it. So I'll say hello to Tommy. And who's next to me? No one. Pocket of space, dead easy. And when that happens, it's super simple. But it's when you've got all these people around that it then becomes much more difficult. This could do without the roadworks, to be honest. Tell you what, I'm going to turn right. We'll head back up to Queen's Drive and we'll get a little bit more traffic. So here again, I'm just aware as I slow not to be next to people. If people are stopped, it's a little easier, but even when they are stopped, I'm at a slow enough speed to deal with it if they just came straight out. Okay. And again, even here, why are we checking maybe back to the left? It's because I don't want to be in that pocket of space with a motorcycle next to me. No issues. Okay. All right, we haven't had loads of scenarios yet where I'm able to demo this, but we will get there, I promise you. It is something that does happen quite often. We've just been a little unlucky, that's all. I'm going to head back up onto Queen's Drive and just head all the way down into Bootle. We're going to do a few roundabouts as well, so you'll get the idea of what I'm trying to do with them, accelerating and braking. I'll explain when we get to the roundabouts rather than preempting it now. We're all good. Again, having a pocket of space next to you is a similar but adapted mindset to arriving at the same point at the same time. We're trying to reduce the time that happens, and this all reduces risk. Gives you options as well to keep flowing. You think if you are following a bus and you're constantly next to a space this side, how easy is it to get around the bus? Yeah, we're all fine. Hopefully, now we're on Queen's Drive, we'll get a little bit more. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a little, I wouldn't say cheeky, but I'm going to go here. I'm going to use lane 3. There's room past the keep clear. It goes 3 lanes here into 2. But already, the body language that I've shown people around is what? Where am I probably going to fit in relation to this van? I've got the one behind, slightly across that side. Watching people. This side isn't a major deal. It's white one in the middle now. Now I'm going to go a little faster. Had to keep an eye on the Kia in the central reservation, but I was watching that white one behind, and they weren't a driver that was going to be thinking about being next to a pocket. Even here, overtaking people. I'm doing 40, I'm catching that one, I'm fine, I'm next to a pocket, and then I'm going to use and utilise that pocket again, because I don't care whether people are going to be breaking speed limits. Don't care in the slightest. I'm not judge and juror, but I'm safe. I think this driver of the white one is possibly one of those people who just does their thing. Crossing could change as well. So let's see what the driver of this key is doing. Are they just coming up, and are they just, look how long they're going to be next to me coming into the lights. So I'm going to just carry on doing my thing, and look how long they're next to me. I normally wouldn't do this, and I'm just going to slow and now be here with the slowing down. And that's a great little example of what I do compared to people who don't do it. All they're interested in is the legal side of things, to say, I'm doing speed limit or less than speed limit, I'm fine, I'm in my lane, if anyone comes into my lane, that's their fault. That's not what good driving's all about. No one next to me at the minute, so I'm okay. And it was a decent example, and it was interesting that we could sort of spot that prior to it happening because of how the driver of that white vehicle moved out at the previous set of lights. Pocket of space next to me, simple. If the red car pulls out, I've got an option to go if needed. Red car's seen me. Now, this is another time where I would be constantly ensuring I'm next to a pocket as much as I can. So I'm being positive. And if the van commits to going past me, what I might do then, notice they're sat right next to me, they're just doing exactly as I've said. They're at the speed limit, and look how long your increased risk. I would never do that if I was this driver. And look at the problems that I've got just by being here. It's the overtaker learner syndrome. I'm not doing that, I'm sorry. Now they've slowed down a little bit more. Do you see what I mean? It's absolutely ludicrous the amount of time that people expose themselves to higher risk. And they do it because of complete lack of thought. Next set of lights, I'm turning right. So what should I do with this guy now? I haven't got any speed limit left, and he's sat right next to me. It just causes problems with flow. Now I've got to slow it right down. Terrible driving. But again, some people are going to say, that's the norm. That's what I do. Well, I don't know whether people would admit to that. But honestly, it is the norm. And it's what goes on a daily basis with what I think 80% of people. 80% of people have no thought about this while they're doing the driving. They just think, I'm within the speed limit. I'm legal. Other people can crash into me and it's their fault. I hate that. What a terrible attitude to have on the road, to just think of the legality and fault. And someone's going to be prosecuted or someone's going to be held accountable for it. And that's down to two. And look, so all of that to then go straight, that's probably a little bit of the learner box on as well. People say, oh, it happens to everyone. Yes, I know it does, but it does not happen with the regularity. Unless you are a driving instructor and have a driving school car, you have no clue. You literally don't. When I take this off, or take the roof box off, it's utterly different. If I drive a different car, utterly different. So, we've had a couple of good examples of what I'm talking about. Just going back to what I said about the lorries, remember the adjustability of these things is totally different compared to a smaller vehicle. Help them. Think of the adjustability of a bicycle as well. They can't go faster very easily, and some cyclists have an aversity to going slower because they're interested in their Strava times and they do not want to slow down, and it's more difficult to get going again. Well, buy an electric bike and make yourself safer rather than just thinking about your pace. Ridiculous again, rant over. So we're doing this with the only lane that's turning right. So therefore I don't really have to think about people next to me. But especially with the lights changing now, it's not so bad. But even there, I was still trying to position just next to a little pocket. So if someone just changes their mind at the last minute and doesn't observe, risk is reduced. And that's it. Turned in a little bit of a ranty one today, isn't it? I think everyone knows by now it's just because of the passion that I've got for this. And does it frustrate me? No, it doesn't. It doesn't frustrate me on how other people are. I think I've got rid of that frustration over the years. I think when I first was a driving instructor, I just expected everyone to be at the same sort of level I was, and I quickly realised that wasn't going to be the case, and I wasn't going to fix the roads just in one foul swoop, and that's never going to happen. But if this video just gets out to 1% of its views, how many views do these Drive Like a Driving Instructor videos do? Sometimes they're 10,000, sometimes they're a little bit less, sometimes a little bit more. So if that got out to 100 people even, that's 100 more people on the road who are, picking this up and taking this on board. But remember, 80% of people, in my opinion, don't do this. Even here, I'm still thinking, notice my instinct was to check, and I'm watching people and making sure that they're not going to come round with me. Okay, we're all good. Who's followed me? I need to know that to what's going on. We're going to have a little look at a few roundabouts a little touch further up, and I'm just going to try and get an idea of, give everyone an idea of what I'm doing with the roundabouts as well. So just going to stay to 30. I'm even going to put my cruise control on. Bingo. Now, let's see, with me at 30, what this one does. All right, it's a Delta. It's breaking the speed limit by a couple, not a big deal. But they were okay for me. That's not a problem. I know they are breaking the speed limit, but they're not doing enough to get a prosecution. I'm not saying that's right. But for me, to be a mile an hour or two quicker just to get past and be in a pocket of space is a much, much better option. Way better. Now, I could do with this traffic behind me up near me. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Just going to do a circumnavigation of the roundabout. Okay, so no one's around me, it's dead easy. I'm going to go all the way around the roundabout and hopefully catch that lot of traffic that was following me, which I am doing. Brilliant. And I'm going to go straight on from this junction, so not this next exit, the one after. So even now I'm aware of people around me. So now I'm watching this one as well, the black Mercedes. They should give way and they should allow me to finish, but just making sure in case they didn't. The moment I've got an escape route, I'm going to step ahead, look far and see whether there's any buses parking or parked vehicles. I'm watching this van with the roof racks on, catching. It's actually catching. I'm doing 30. They're probably doing 35-ish, 36-ish, but it was passed quicker. And for me, no, they shouldn't be doing that. But like I've said, that's an easier job because now my space is next to me for longer. And that's what we're trying to do. I'm going to try and show you with the braking a little bit more further up. But no one's next to me to my side. Going ahead at the roundabout, it's the third exit. We've got a little pocket to go on. No one's next to me. All fine. This next little corner, I'm just leaning forward to get a further view in case someone was going to whiz straight across the markings like the Mercedes van did, or the Vito. People do that and then arrive at that narrowing quite quickly, so therefore you can often be next to people. So pinch points, look for them. The next pinch point is on this roundabout where the lanes go round this way. So notice what I did there. I used a little more acceleration to make sure I was ahead of that Mercedes people carrier. And you can do that to fix it as well. Don't forget, it's not always slowing down. It's just about altering. And because that space was next to me all the time, dead easy to deal with the Focus that was parking up on the curb. No problem. So let's look to see what I'd do here. It's going to be right next to me. Shouldn't be any problem, but all I'm doing, I'm just slowing down and just making sure my slow now is next to this space. It reduces risk, and I'm only going past this one when I'm happy it's staying there. That might be a little bit of a new part to this driving in a staggered formation that maybe you haven't thought of before, because I don't think it's been mentioned too much on the channel either. It's not a new thing, it's something that I do all the time, but I don't actually think I've mentioned it too much. Where am I going to be? So I was just assessing how quickly the Golf went off to then me dealing with this one, and because the traffic's slower in front, I've had to forego the space behind the black Vauxhall, and I'm just maintaining my space with this, and I'm just watching this. When the traffic all sort of matches, I'll then pick someone, the van, to be next to, and I've got to be careful of this one as well. Now I'm just going to reduce and let that one in front because I couldn't have kept up with the van, and I'll have this space, but if these are travelling faster, so be it. This taxi driver just moved out from a couple behind, so I'm expecting that one to come back in a little bit further up. So again, what am I doing? Holding back. And their body language is also telling me that. Look at the state of their back wheel, and they're driving that car. That's an absolute disgrace. That wheel could fall off. It's terrible. I'm turning right at the next set of lights. Notice I'm just staying next to the space, and what did I say about the taxi? Happy, and because I was next to the space all the time, no issue. I am actually, if I'm next to this taxi driver, I'm going to just warn him about his, in fact, look at his other wheel as well. His other wheel's the same. Oh, sod it. Whatever. But hopefully you could see what's going on with that. Let's have a little look at where people are with the lorry on the back of it. The black Mercedes Vito again, same vehicle as before. Where am I positioning in relation to this? So I'm not just trying to race through the lights, we're through them. But this one is just not really driving in that staggered formation. So I don't know whether they've seen me, so I've just dropped back even further. So I'm looking after, by how I'm dealing with my drive and what I'm doing, adjusting speed, I'm dealing with all the potential faults that they could make. And that's often how I come up with Ashley's psychic. I'm not. I'm just doing more with my car to reduce risk. And that's it. Totally safe at the minute. No issues, no problems. Lights could change through. So I've just gone a little more, but this one's now catching. And when this one is in my vicinity, again, people just coming up and staying next to, I'm just going to reduce, let them past, keep up again, if it's okay. So it only takes a tiny little adjust. Okay. I'm going to do a right turn at a set of lights a little touch further. It's not this set, it's not the next, it's the set after. So with this planning, we're now going to be looking for the obvious opportunity for me to get out. Still going to adjust my speed here. Mercedes is the one that I'm going to tag on with, unless they drive quicker, which they are going to be doing with the lorry. So I'm just managing my speed and growing my space. There's a big gap after the blue one, and before the lorry catches me up, there's my gap, there's my chance. Out we go. Little sideways check just to make sure no one was from lane 3 coming back. You don't need a blind spot. Often a lean forward and a look sideways is better, because if you're checking your blind spot, I'm not going to even do it. If I'm checking over there, I'm not watching this in front. So lean forward and peripherally look sideways and lean forward and look in your mirror covers that area, and you can still keep an eye on what's going on in front. So if you've been told to check your lifesaver and then something changes, you've got issues. Okay, so yes, I was out here a little early, but not really. The traffic's flowing. Honestly, whenever you can see that BMW to the left, there's a BMW just out of this slip road. Hopefully, I think you'll probably be able to see it out of this camera. I'm just going to keep an eye out for what the lorry driver does next to me. Can the lorry driver see that car from there? I don't know, so I'm just seeing what the lorry driver does. Well done, sir. Now, where am I going to be with that? I'm just going to be ahead, so I'm tucked in behind this one, so I'm visible again, next to a pocket of space. I did not want to be next to them. If I am going to overtake, I am now, because I've got the lane grace. But if I was going to overtake, I was going to make sure I did that positively. And even if it meant on my speedo going 1 or 2 above to then get past, not an issue, not a problem. Okay. Early signal for the lorry. I'm going to use a little bit of brake just as a warning, but notice I'm flowing in and I'm doing my slow down on this part. I had enough room to, but it just enabled the flow. I know the lights changed as well, but it just enabled the flow of that traffic. So alter what you're doing. Okay, pedestrians are the issue, especially the fellow on the right on the phone. No, we're good. Okay. It's actually worked out quite nicely, to be honest. Verbalization of what I wanted has gone on. We've had a few examples, and quite a few examples, of people who don't alter their speed. I'll just go and have another couple of goes a bit further up. We're going to head up Ormskirk Road, past the front of Aintree Racecourse, and then take it from there. Good. Even there, know who's around, know who's potentially going to be overtaking. Who's potentially going to be overtaking motorcyclists generally. Just keep an eye out for things, nice and planned. Here, a little bit of an interesting one. I'm not going to hold back of the bridge because everything's flowing. Just keep an eye on people again. When roads are tight like this, again, try and move away in a staggered formation. Walton Vale, a little bit further up, is an absolute classic for it. There's no road markings to say it's 2 lanes, but I would queue in 2, but I would drive in a staggered formation. Here's what it is. No one's next to me. Got an escape route if there was a problem over the bridge, but there isn't. Okay, how much of that stuff do you do? What's the new bit? Is there anything new? If I'm suspecting anything, it may be under braking. We haven't had many examples. In fact, I don't think we've had one example of a roundabout situation where I've had to adjust while on a roundabout, but I think that's a common one that most of you have seen before. You've heard me talk about that many situations, but is the slowing down the new bit for you? Possibly. So, what am I doing here? This one's closer to the no. I would expect lane 2 to be ahead a little faster, so I'm expecting myself to be sitting behind this one. But we don't know. Take it out of gear, traffic from the right's going. So let's see how it pans out. It's not always going to be like that, but the key is the adjustment. Don't drive routinely. That's been a video on its own. But this is a sort of like a subsection to it. So yeah, the note was ahead, so I'm able to keep flowing, but obviously now I've got to think about the distance to the blue Renault in front and growing. What about the Corsa to my right? I'm just going to slow in one manner. Luckily this time we have space, so if this one comes in I can deal with it, but remember, if they're not past and they're not gone, adjust what you're doing. We've We've got a couple more scenarios where we can just have a little look. Potentially a little bit further up, there's a little section that sometimes can cause little problems. What am I doing again? Courses a little slow away. Was that a WhatsApp weight? I couldn't see, if I was honest. But notice I'm being positive now. And that's probably the quickest rate that I've accelerated. The lady's finished. Or has she? Space. Ah, poor lady. Okay, it's a funny one that, whether I could have done anything, whether I could have just stopped in the lane, maybe, but it looked as though she was actually just stepping up, so tough one. Blue one's passed, reduce risk again, next to space, next to a pocket, next to safety. Same thing. Where do I want to be with the van? How long am I exposed to this one being next to me? Done. I'm now going to go ahead at the further satellites. I don't think, even with the resolution of my beautifully clear and crisp VFO A139 Pro dash cam, don't know whether we'll be able to make that out. But the left lane is a left turning lane only. Where am I going? Possibly could have gone and put my foot down, but I decided to go the other way. And I'm changing my rate of acceleration just to be constantly next to the space. And if you are, there's very little for people to do to let you in. And then they, 9 times out of 10, accommodate. My last parting statement is this. I'm doing as much as I can to be next to a pocket of space. Is that the polar opposite to a space closer? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.